There we go. So shadow work and avoidance. So the whole thing that I want to share is when rest becomes a hiding place and a place of comfort rather than allowing us to progress and move forward. So let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention. What if you don't struggle with resting, but with getting started? So I have caught myself doing this the past couple of days where it's you tell yourself that you need a break, but the break never ends. Okay, I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest a little bit more, get a little bit more sleep, relax, take a little bit of a break from work, do what is required of me, but not tackle the other things on the to-do list. And you keep waiting for motivation, but it never comes. You call it self-care, but deep down, you know that it is something else. And there's a voice in the back of your head being like, you should be doing more. And sometimes when we are type A perfectionists and we're trying to push, that voice will be there. And that voice is not necessarily the thing that is beneficial. But sometimes for us, when that voice is a whisper saying, this isn't self-care, you know, you're not taking care of yourself as best as you could. It's not laziness. It is avoidance that is disguised as rest. And I don't know about any of you guys knowing about your attachment styles, but with my upbringing in my childhood, I'm absolutely the avoidant attachment type. So this is something that I am aware of in my own nervous system. And when I become overwhelmed, I avoid, I shut down, I retreat, and I try to lean into rest, but sometimes it's not, I don't need as much rest as I'm giving myself, and it's actually doing me a disservice, and it compounds. Now, again, this is not laziness, and it's not because you're weak. From a nervous system standpoint, your body does not feel safe moving forward. Okay, so this all comes back to the nervous system. We have our conscious mind, but when we are out of our window of tolerance or when we are overstimulated, that prefrontal cortex, the conscious mind that knows the stuff that we have to do, it kind of checks out. And you have your emotional brain running the show where the reflexes come in. And this is where you may see food reflexes pop up, or you may see, nope, don't go to the gym today. Sleep in a little bit. That can wait until later. It's just your nervous system trying to keep you safe. And when you can be compassionate and recognize that rather than critical with yourself and bring awareness and be like, whoa, what's going on in my life? Where is this overwhelm coming from? And you can start to be more loving with yourself. You can ask yourself these questions without being mean to yourself and keeping yourself stuck in this cycle. So if you feel stuck in rest, there's probably a reason for that. Rest becomes a hiding place when your nervous system is stuck in freeze mode. That's me right now, and I am consciously aware of it. I'm showing up for all of the people who need me. Deb also acknowledges that she is in a functional freeze state right now. Sometimes there's a lot going on in life with work and personal and whatever other things you got going on. And then when you add on this fitness regime and trying to take care of yourself, that can feel too much sometimes. And any sort of trauma history or background, we're good at getting shit done, but we're also kind of disassociated and not moving forward and not taking care of ourselves. So nervous system is stuck in freeze. Rest becomes a hiding place when you associate action with pressure, failure, or disappointment. So there's this like external expectation of I have to get this done because there's pressure, or I have to get this done, otherwise I'm going to be a failure, or I have to get this done, otherwise I'm going to disappoint other people. And that's sometimes when we retreat and we want to hide even more. You've spent so long surviving that you don't know what to do with stillness. I know that. I cannot sit still. I cannot sit on a couch and watch an episode of a TV show without getting up 4 to 5 times because sitting, I'm jittery. I need to move. I need to pace. I need to do something. I would love to just sit there and be like, yeah, I just want to watch an hour of garbage reality TV. But in this functional freeze state, I recognize that even when I try to do that and I try to rest and watch my favorite shows, Love is Blind season, whatever it is out right now, and I love it. But I'm not enjoying it as much as I normally did with past seasons because I can't sit there and give it my full attention because I'm disassociated. I'm trying to rest and recover and watch the garbage reality TV, but I don't know what to do and how to sit still. Okay. So instead of facing the fear of failure, you stay where it's safe. And sometimes that's living in our heads. Okay, we tell ourselves stories, we're thinking about all of the things. We don't really drop into our body where it's holding a lot of this stress and tension, and we're not acknowledging it. So we're just living in our heads and we're thinking about all of the things and planning for, okay, well, if I fail, what sort of conversation am I going to have with this person if they bring this up? Like so many hypothetical situations that are never going to happen. But again, that is your nervous system being protective to say, how can we keep ourselves alive and keep ourselves safe, even though we are in this withdrawn functional freeze state if something happens in the future? So you stay where it's safe. If you are someone who doesn't enjoy going to the gym, or you didn't grow up and the gym was like your safe space to get away from everything and really connect with your body, it may feel like there is a resistance to moving your body, to working out, because exercise, if your history, I know I talked about this on previous weeks, if you don't have that safety associated with exercise in your past, it's not going to be something that you want to lean into. And then there's that fear of failure of, okay, well, if I go into the gym and I do a workout, well, what if I don't see the results? Oh my gosh, what if I fail? And then I'm going to check in and then my coach is going to fire me as a client because I'm not seeing the results, even though I'm showing up. So your nervous system is literally just protecting you. Instead of taking a step forward, you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. I catch myself with this a lot. Oh, I have a spare room over there, and there is 2 weeks worth of laundry that I have not put away. And this is another sign for me that I pick up when I'm in a freeze, is like normally I'll like listen to a podcast or a video, and do stuff at the same time. Now it's been there for 2 weeks. I just close the door and pretend it's not there. And then when my clothes get dirty, I wash it and I dump it in there and I'll deal with it later. So I tell myself, I'll do it tomorrow. And I've been telling myself that for 2 weeks. You are engaging, instead of engaging with life, you stay in a cycle of avoidance disguised as rest. So are you avoiding the things that you should be doing? You know, I should be putting that laundry away, but I'm avoiding it. Close the door, out of sight, out of mind. Is it that important to my life? No. And if someone were to call me up and be like, hey, I need to stay over, that's our spare room, I would clean it up in a heartbeat for someone else. But that again is a sign, functional freeze is there. I'm engaging, but I'm not doing the things and I'm resting instead. But when I try to rest, I still can't sit still. Okay, so this is not about forcing yourself to get it together. It is understanding why movement feels unsafe. When we try to force ourselves and be critical, being like, why the fuck can't I get my shit together? I should be able to. When we place those external expectations or internal expectations on us, it brings us back to you associate action with pressure, failure, and disappointment. Criticism will keep you stuck in this cycle rather than compassion. Rest is essential. Okay, there are a lot of women that I work with that I have to emphasize, you need to rest more. You need to get sufficient sleep. But if you are sleeping your 7 to 9 hours a night and you are making time for self-care, whether that's showering. I know a lot of women just don't take care of themselves and they avoid, the first thing to go out the window is personal hygiene. Haven't showered in 4 days, living in the same clothes sort of thing. But when rest turns into procrastination, avoidance, or isolation, it is no longer self-care. So just reflect and think about previous times in your life, maybe right now. When rest turns into procrastination, avoidance, or isolation, it is no longer self-care. And it can be a form of self-sabotage. Now, if I had written this I would not have called it self-sabotage because if you've been on any of these calls, you know I don't like the term self-sabotage. It is literally just your nervous system protecting you. Okay, so signs rest has become protective. That's what I'd rather this say instead of become self-sabotage. You feel guilty, but you still can't get started. You keep waiting for the right time, but you never take action. You overconsume social media, TV, scrolling, instead of actually recharging. See, my Love is Blind, but I can't watch it. And I'm also on my phone at the same time. I got double the screens and none of them are getting my full attention and I cannot sit still and I'm not actually recharging. I'm just overstimulating myself with the overconsumption of screens. Telling yourself, I'll do it later, but later never comes. My laundry pile. This isn't about shaming yourself. It's about asking, what am I actually avoiding? What are you avoiding? What is the main thing? Could be a couple of things that you are not acknowledging, that you are disassociating from, that you are not checking in with yourself and truly facing and having those uncomfortable, maybe painful conversations with yourself. And this is where curiosity comes in. So again, it's not criticism. You're not being critical. You're not shaming yourself. What am I actually avoiding from a compassionate, curious state? If you are stuck in avoidance, the answer is not just to push through. And I caught myself over the weekend being like, just push through, just get it done. And that led to continuing to avoid. It is now Thursday. I'm still stuck in this cycle because of the language that I used with myself and the aggression and the tone that I used with myself previously. Okay, it's not just push through. It is gently reintroducing movement without overwhelming yourself. Okay, so we have to start small. We have to take small actions to build that momentum. Clients that work with me, you know that I talk a lot about momentum. You have forward momentum, and once that momentum starts, it's very easy to keep it going. And then you have backwards momentum. And once that backwards momentum starts, it's very easy to continue to roll backwards. And shifting the backwards momentum forward, one of the hardest things to do. Once you have that forward momentum again, it's easier to keep going. So it doesn't need to be a big, aggressive push forward. It is small, little movement without overwhelming yourself. Make one tiny movement, not a huge leap. Okay, so if we feel like things are too big or too overwhelming, too much, when you are out of your window of tolerance, it feels like too much, too soon, and it feels like you're doing it alone. So we start significantly smaller and we take it one action at a time, one tiny movement at a time. So instead of, I need to clean my whole house, I'll pick up one thing. So for me to start putting my laundry away, it's hang up 3 things. And I know once I start hanging up 3 things, I will be able to do the rest, but it's initiating that task first. And I just look at the mound of clothes on the floor right now, AKA a floor drobe. And I just get overwhelmed and I close the door and I say, I'll deal with that later. But if I tell myself, I'm going to put 3 things away, that can initiate it. Similar thing with starting a workout. If you tell yourself, just do 10 minutes, just start. I've done this many, many times before where I tell myself, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes. And if at the end of 10 minutes, I don't want to do this, I give my permission to myself to stop. I've been training for almost a decade now. It has happened to me less than 5 times in that decade. And I've given myself the permission to be like, okay, I showed up. I put in a little bit of effort, tiny action. And then the following day, I was able to fully show up. But when you think, oh my God, there's this whole workout, and it's going to take me an hour and a half, and then I have cardio and blah, blah, blah. Too much, too soon, too big, too overwhelming, keeps you stuck. Another one for reframing your thoughts. Instead of, I need to figure out my whole life. What am I doing? There's changes. My career is up in the air. There's a question mark there. Family. I need to figure it all out. I'll journal for 5 minutes. Small little action there. Instead of, I need to get everything done today. Oh boy, I hear this one a lot in my head. I'll do one small thing to build momentum. Start with one tiny step and let movement build naturally. Reconnect with your why. Avoidance thrives when you're disconnected from why it matters. So questions to ask yourself again with curiosity and compassion, not criticism. What am I moving towards? What am I afraid of? How would my future self feel if I took even one step today? So I just want you to pause for a second and genuinely think about that. Okay, if you are in this freeze state, this avoidance that I need to rest more, even though there's so much that I have to do, what are you moving towards? What are you working towards? Who do you want to become? Now, what are you afraid of? What is going on in your life that is causing that fear, that overwhelm? And one that's not on here, where do you feel that in your body? So when we feel feelings, there's sensations below your neck. A lot of times we live up in our head, but it's below the neck. Sometimes it's tightness in our chest. Sometimes it's in our stomach. Sometimes it's in our shoulders. Sometimes it's in our jaw. Where is that sensation? Can you breathe into it? Can you stretch it from the inside out with your breath? And then that third question, how would my future self feel if I took even one step today? Because right now, if you're in this functional freeze and you're leaning into rest, but no matter how much you rest, it does not feel like enough rest. Your brain sees movement as a threat. And these questions, what am I moving towards? What am I afraid of? How would my future self feel if I took even one step? That helps remind your nervous system and your conscious brain that these steps lead to something good. The next tool / step is to regulate your nervous system first. So if your body is stuck in freeze, pushing yourself harder, it's not going to work. It's going to keep you stuck in freeze. The language that you use with yourself, not being mean to yourself, because if you are, that relationship with yourself is going to be impacted and you're going to be stuck in this dysregulated state. Okay, your nervous system needs to feel safe before movement is possible. Things to try, shaking or stretching. Okay, so literally shaking. If you have a mini trampoline, one of the best things. And I have had a couple of women that I work with get a mini trampoline recently. Deb got one too. I'm glad that I have inspired women over the past 6 months to get on a trampoline because that like jumping, shaking helps regulate your nervous system. Stretching. So I talked about, you're feeling things in your body. We're trying to pay attention to all of the sensations. If there is stored tension, you want to breathe into that. You want to stretch that tension. Breath work. So long exhales to signal safety. Physiological sigh. You guys probably know this one already. Double nose inhale, long mouth exhale. I like to do it into my chest and really try to stretch that tension that I feel right here. So it's a couple of rounds of that. Tapping. So for those of you who are not aware of tapping, you cross your arms and you tap either side of the body. So that's a way to regulate your nervous system as well. And then sensory grounding. So holding something warm, drinking cold water, having a hot bath, cold plunges if you like cold plunges. In the winter, going outside and like taking some snow and putting it on your hands. Some sort of thing that, again, gets you out of your head and into your body. Because for your nervous system to regulate when you are feeling things that you don't want to feel, you have to get out of your head and drop into your body and acknowledge that. You cannot intellectualize your way through this. You cannot be like, I understand why I'm feeling stressed because this and this and this and this are happening in your body or happening in your life. There's still things in your body that is sending signals up your spine, up your central nervous system into your brain saying, hey, we're not okay. There's tension here. There is tightness here. There is pain here. And if you don't acknowledge it, those messages will continue to be relayed up to the brain. And if you ignore them, you're going to stay dysregulated. So you got to get into the body, shake, stretch, dance, mini trampoline, breath work, tapping, water. Those are one of the quick, no cost ways to get into it. When your body feels safe, taking action stops feeling like a threat. So you got to do that first, and then you can start to take those small actions. Shift from passive to active rest. So if you're stuck in numbing rest, disassociated rest, scrolling, zoning out, feeling drained instead of recharged, trying to watch some Love is Blind, but not being able to pay attention, try shifting to active instead. So instead of doom scrolling, take a mindful walk. Instead of binge watching, try journaling or stretching. I am the kind that much prefers stretching instead of journaling because I'm already in my head enough. I like to feel sensations in my body. Overthinking, instead of overthinking, listening to music and actually feeling the music, or dancing. But again, getting out of your head, into your body, walking, journaling, stretching, listening to music, feeling the things. Okay. Rest should restore you, not disconnect you. Start before you feel ready. No one is ever going to feel ready. Mood follows action. Okay. But again, we have to feel safe enough to start to take those small little actions. And that's where all of the sensory feeling in the body comes into play. But if you're waiting for motivation or for the perfect moment, it's not coming. Your brain will always find a reason to delay. Resistance will always make you want to stay still, stay frozen. And that first step is always going to be uncomfortable. There's always going to be a little bit of resistance. But the moment you take action, the moment you take that first step, you are shifting that momentum forwards. That momentum kicks in. You do not have to feel fully ready to start. You just have to begin. Rest is not meant to be a prison. Stillness isn't meant to be a hiding place. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to be fully ready to take a step. You are allowed to move forward. Give yourself permission. This is uncomfortable, but I know with the first step, it'll get a little bit easier. In small ways, even if it's imperfectly, even now. If you've been feeling stuck in rest, you are not failing. I know sometimes it feels like failing because it's like, oh my God, there's all these things and why can't I do it? And everyone else on social media looks like they have their shit together. This is me being open, honest, and transparent that sometimes I don't have my shit together either. But we continue to show up and take those small little actions. You are not lazy. You are not broken. Your body is protecting you from something it perceives as a threat. But safety isn't found in staying stuck. You're just going to continue to feel exhausted no matter how much you are resting. It's found in trusting yourself to take small, safe steps forward. You can move through this, and you're allowed to begin again. So go for it, Deb.
So it's really funny that I just chose to come on tonight to listen, but I knew it was you and I love whenever you're talking. So I thought, whatever it is, I don't care. I'm just going to listen. And this past week, Lexi, I have not worked out since Saturday. I just I just couldn't. There's a lot of different stressors in my life and it's been going on for like the last 6 weeks and this week it just hit a pinnacle. And now I love data and I love my Aura ring. I really do. And every morning I look at my sleep score and I look at my temperature and I look at everything and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. My activity this week. Oh my God. It's screaming at me. My internal core temperature is really high. My sleep score is crap. Yesterday, it was doing major symptom signs, major symptom signs, major symptoms. Like I was screenshotting it, sending it to my partner, sending it to my best friend. I'm going, oh my God, like what's going on? And they're all like, okay, you need to relax. You need to relax. I can't I can't watch TV without my computer on. And if I do put all devices down and just lay down, I I don't even know how to get up and go brush my teeth to go to bed. I am embarrassed to admit this because he's going to hear me. I slept on the couch the other night because getting up and going into my bed was just too hard. And now that I've listened to everything, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not going back. Like, I've done a lot of reading on my ADHD and all of that, but this has been this past week just absolutely the worst for this. So thank you because I'm getting my friggin' ass back to the gym tomorrow.
Yep. One step at a time. And the reason that I wanted to bring this up is just to normalize it because I'm seeing it a lot with the women that I work with. I'm going to say like over half, over 50% of the women that I work with right now are in some sort of functional freeze or super high stress moment. And when we can talk about it and be like, you're not crazy, you're not alone, you're not broken, we're going through this too, it helps remove part of that shame aspect of it, which allows you to transition into more of that regulated state slightly quicker, as long as you are compassionate with yourself and you remind yourself, I'm not crazy, I'm not broken. Other women are going through this too. But if we can all kind of build upon it and share openly, just the way that you did, um, we can move through it a little bit. I'm not going to say faster, but like we can move through it easier together and we can be kinder to ourselves. And for anyone with a neurospicy brain, whether that is ADHD or autism, or if you have any sort of learning disability, those burnout periods may be even harder to get out of. Or if you've experienced trauma in the past, because nervous systems are so focused on, okay, how did we survive between the ages of 13 and 25 while the neuroplasticity was at its peak? And if you grew up in trauma in those times, then that's your go-to state. That is your go-to reflexes when things get hard. So this is a sign for all of us to be kind to ourselves and take small little actions, like really ask yourself, is the self-care that you are giving yourself actually self-care? Because for me, not so much. I mean, today I went for an IV vitamin drip and then I had a really good leg workout at the gym. So I'm starting to feel mind shift. I'm thinking tomorrow, maybe I will tackle my floor drobe. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Does anyone want to share their own experience? Our Zoom now has a time cutoff of 40 minutes compared to the hour. So we got 10 minutes. So if you want to take yourself off mute and share, if you resonate, I would love to hear. Kim. Oh, maybe. See the dot dots? Still trying to connect. Oh, we had people in chat. Haven't even paid attention to that. Trish said, this is all my jam. I have been noticing the same, Lexi. Know that there's a lot of that going on. Do you want to share a little bit more, Trish, if you're able to take yourself off mute?
I'll take myself off mute, but I was having a bath, so I won't take myself off camera.
That's self-care.
You're welcome, everyone. Yeah, this was me for the last year and a half or so, and I think it's really the shoulding, like I should be doing better, that makes it worse. But it's funny that this is the topic because I literally closed my day today at work and like I went for a walk to get my 10,000 steps, but I was like, I deserve rest. I should rest. I had a busy week and I really shouldn't be doing more. My laundry is also still sitting in the hamper. So it's the little steps. I'm feeling that a lot.
It's the
Thank you.
It's the voice. There's like I kind of like to think of my head as a boardroom where it's like,
Mhm.
I am the CEO, but there's a whole bunch of executives at the table, and some of them are yelling and some of them are whispering. And normally the yelling ones are like, you should rest, stay in bed longer, hit snooze. Like those are the ones that aren't actually serving me. Where
Yeah.
the little whisper voice that's like, oh, you should go to the gym, or you should really put that away, or no, get out of bed and like go outside, go walk the dogs. That quiet voice is the one that is typically telling us what we need to hear. And sometimes when I am go, 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 and I'm not in this functional freeze state, I'm like all in, those voices are swapped, where there's the loud ones being like, keep going, like, go do your cardio, take on this extra task, say yes, people please. And then the whispers like, no, you should really be resting. So this isn't a thing where it's like rest is always bad. There are a lot of
Right.
times where you do need rest, but you have to ask yourself, have you been resting to the point where now that's where you're stuck? And if it's been a year and a half, as you named, Trish, like that is your nervous system literally just trying to keep you safe, because I'm sure there's lots of big transitions and challenges going on in your life.
Mhm.
And when you approach it that way and you get rid of the shoulds, I should be working out, I should like, part of our neurological wiring as well, we have something called demand avoidance.
Mhm.
When there is shoulds and expectations, even if we're placing those expectations on ourselves, that demand avoidance will kick in and be like, no, because it is now a demand, we extra don't want to do it. We extra want,
Yes.
yeah,
The
we
inner
want
child is fighting back and totally stepping back. And I just also found out that as a Sagittarius rising, that I'm also very sorry, I'm woo woo. But Sagittarius risings are very like, don't tell me what to do. I don't know if you've ever done
Oh
IFS.
God, don't I know that? That's your code.
I was waiting for you.
But okay, so Trish, I don't know if you remember when you got sick and then you had to go to Cabo for work and you couldn't work out for 2 weeks. I said to you, you actually needed that rest.
Yeah.
You look better than you've been looking.
Well, from the time that I met you to now, my nervous system has completely shifted.
Yeah.
I love that. Trish, you were saying something about IFS. I was literally listening to the Huberman Lab podcast on that today because it came out
Okay.
on Monday. So
So I was
good.
going to say, so talking about the different parts in your, like the different protectors, right? So the protector is like, no, no, you should rest. Um, that's all part of us, right? So I think it's fascinating. If you don't know much about the IFS space, I am also a certified life coach, trauma informed, and do a lot of the IFS and somatic work with other people. Just don't ask me to get my shit together.
Yeah.
But I feel like you'd find that fascinating if you don't know it.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm almost through the podcast, and in part of the podcast, like he's the founder of IFS.
Yep.
He has you like he walks through it and has you ask the questions like, ooh, maybe like next week's talk, I'll bring up literally just that part of the clip and we can all kind of like close our eyes and go through it together. Because when I did it, I was on my way home from the gym and I just like parked my car in the driveway and I listened to it. And then when it was over, I opened the door and was like, oh, I do feel a lot more regulated than
Yeah.
before. So maybe we'll
Yeah.
do that next week.
And finding out that it's just normal, right? Like everybody has their own sides of us, really. At the end of the day, I'll be quiet.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like this needs a future conversation, Trish. I will reach out to you directly and maybe we can do it together and share. That'd be really cool. Does anyone else want to share? We have about 3.5 minutes left. Or maybe just reacting with an emoji. I think you can do that on Zoom. Can anyone relate to this? Do you find yourself in a functional freeze right now? Super normal. Yeah.
Hi, Lexi. It's
Hi,
Mass.
Matt.
I'm not gonna take myself off camera because I'm driving, but I do relate to a lot of things that Coach Deb and yourself were talking about. I think you know that more than anyone. Um, I do feel a shift since we've been talking the past couple of weeks, and I do feel better. So when I don't do the things that I'm supposed to do, I do find myself criticizing myself a
Mhm.
lot. but I'm slowly changing that. But this, I feel like I haven't been listening to this chat for a while now, so I don't know, something in the universe told me to just hop on. You're at work and on your way drive, you can listen to it. So yeah, I'm kind of thankful that I did that, so I don't feel alone. There's other people feeling the same.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you for joining and thank you for sharing. Jamie said she raised her hand and said, functional freeze, every week I have my period. Interesting. Okay. That is something, it comes up every month. So that's very interesting and shifting that relationship with it. And I'm sure, Deb, you can provide some hormone insight there. That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the disparity between your estrogen and your progesterone is going to affect your brain and how you regulate and how you see things. And some women might feel like they're, the PMS symptoms. So that could be how your, premenstrual, menstrual symptoms are coming out into that functional freeze. And it might not even be exactly like what we're talking about, but it's still there. And that yours might be just chemically done because of the way your hormones are. And I already know that you're a really healthy eater and you already exercise. So it's more going to be about cognitive behavior. Like, what are you doing to help yourself?
Yeah, a lot of the breath work, tapping, stretching, dancing, shaking. Get a mini trampoline if you don't have one, Jamie. It'll change your world. Okay, we have less than a minute, so I'm gonna just finally read out Wafa's here. I feel like I'm doing just the bare minimum to get by and help know others feel the same. I'm proud of how much I'm doing, but it still feels like a crawl. Slow is still forward. We have less than a minute, ladies. Thank you for joining. I'm proud of you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye.